Welcome, Algebra 2. Today we're going to discuss 1.5, which is problem solving using algebraic models. So really this whole section is word problems, and so we're going to talk about a couple of strategies to help you solve them. First of all, the difference between a verbal model and an algebraic model. So a verbal model is an equation written in words. So for example, if we were going to talk about the area of a triangle, so you might just write out the area of a triangle is, and it is half the product of the base and the height. And you can shorten your verbal models if you want to. And actually, instead of saying is, say equals, half the product, you could say time, like you can actually put in your operations, okay? But the variables stay as words, whereas your algebraic model, and it says, this one uses mathematical symbols. So what am I going to use for area of a triangle? Well, I'm going to use A. What am I going to use for equals? Or what am I going to use for equals? What am I going to use for is? I'm going to use equals. Half the product, and then what am I using for B, or base and height? B and H. So putting in those variables to represent what those words were. So there's the difference between a verbal model and an algebraic model. You need to read your directions because sometimes it might ask you to write a verbal model. So we're going to look at two examples. Here's the first one. On August 15th of 1995, the Concorde flew 35,035 miles from New York City to New York City in 31 hours and 27 minutes. So if you didn't catch on, it flew around the world. Okay. So what was the average speed? And you might, when you do problems, you might go, okay, speed, 35 miles, that's a measure of distance. And 31 hours, 27 minutes, that's a measure of time. And you might rack your brain, do I know an equation, a formula that uses those three things? And you do. I'm sorry I spelled speed wrong there. Let's put two E's in there. All right, let's see here. Distance equals rate times time. That should look familiar. And so sometimes there is a formula to use. So what was the average rate? Okay, I want to solve this then for R, so I'm going to divide each side by T. So R equals distance over time. And then your units should work out. So if I have 35,035 miles divided by, now we can't put in hours and minutes, so let's switch our 27 minutes. So if there's 27 minutes and there is, 60 minutes in an hour, then I'm going to get 0.45 hours. So this is 31.45 hours. And then notice what my units are going to be. So then I'm just going to divide 35,035 divided by 31.45, and I'm going to get 1113.99, so pretty darn close to 1114 miles per hour. So that was an example where we might know a formula that we can use. This one's going to be an example there's not necessarily a formula for this. So we have a table that gives us the heights from the floor to the first few steps of a flight of stairs, and we want to determine the height of the 14th step. And yes, you probably could just keep counting, here's the 3rd step, continue the pattern to the 4th step and the 5th step and the 6th step. And the 14th step is not terribly far away. But, what if I asked you for the 100th step or something? That might get a little cumbersome. So we do have a landing. Let's look at this. We do have a landing in this situation. So, here might be the landing, and that's 4 inches up. And then our steps start. And this is from the ground, so that this, to the ground here is 12, and here to the ground is 20, which makes each step be how much? Right, each step is 8, so you should see that, so 4 plus 8 would be the 12, and then 12 plus 8 would be the 20, so we're adding 8 every time. So sometimes you might just try to write your own formula. So if I let h be the height, it's going to be 8s plus 4. So I made up my own variables there. So h is the height, s was the stairs. So on the landing, you technically have 0 stairs. So if I put in a 0, I get a 4. On the first stair, if I put in a 1, I get a 12. Okay. So I've written an equation, and then to solve it, I want on the 14th stair. Okay. So I'm going to do 8 times 14, which is 112, and add 4 more, and we're going to be 116 inches tall on that 14th step. All right, let me know if you have questions, and have a good day.